Hey everybody, it's Mike from AMZ Advisors, and today I have with me Ritu Java from PPC Ninja, and we're going to be talking about advertising strategies for 6, 7, and 8-figure Amazon businesses. Hi Ritu, how are you doing?
Hey Mike, I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing well, can't complain. Why don't you start and just tell us a little about yourself and your background and what your company does.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Ritu Java, and I have a funny last name. I used to get a lot of job offers for, Java engineers and things like that. I'm not Java certified, but yeah, I've basically lived and worked in multiple countries around the world: Japan, India, US, Canada, and I now live in Canada. And I am one of the co-founders of PPC Ninja. We offer Amazon tools and services, so we do both. And we're based out of Seattle, Washington, although I'm the only remote employee and I work from Canada.
Thank you for your background. It's very helpful for us to understand a little bit more about you and your company. So let's get a little bit more into the topic. What do you think is the first thing that Amazon sellers should know about PPC advertising on the platform?
Right. So I think more and more people are realizing that they can't avoid Amazon PPC. Like, you cannot exist on Amazon and not pay attention to this important aspect of selling, because it's getting crowded, right? That's one. The second is that there is a jungle of distractions out there on Amazon. So no matter what you're selling, there's always going to be a cheaper alternative, a better alternative out there. Someone else will be competing with you. And so how do you fight for visibility? I think the only way to do it consistently and within terms of service is through Amazon PPC. And I'm basically just saying that, there could be a lot of people who go with black hat techniques to rank the products on page one. And that's always been, one of the things that gets people to page one. But we're seeing more and more that you can't ignore ads. The way Amazon has designed their layout, the first couple of listings that you see are ads. And in some categories, everything above the fold is an ad. So there's no escaping there, right? So if you want visibility, and because most of the sales happen on page one, and even more so just above the fold, it's important for all of us sellers to know that Amazon is a pay to play platform. And actually, someone recently said, and I should remember their name, but they said it's a pay to stay platform. If you want to stay on Amazon, it makes sense to get a good understanding of Amazon PPC and do it well.
Yeah, exactly. I would agree with that completely. We tell our clients the same thing. The black hat tactics might work in the short term, but playing by the rules, utilizing PPC, and getting as much visibility that way is probably the best way to go in the long term. So what different types of advertising strategies are there on the Amazon platform?
Yeah, actually, there are so many different ways to approach this problem, because, at the end of the day, people want sales, right? But you also want visibility, you want a sustainable brand that, people keep coming back to. Now, what we've noticed on Amazon is that the concept of brand kind of breaks down a little bit. There is the mega brands will always be recognized for their name, and their visibility is kind of already kind of offset by their off Amazon brand image. But for most third-party sellers that don't really have a brand, and they're just, well, they might be private label, but they don't really have a brand per se. I just think that visibility becomes important. Recall is not something that we can count on, because people will always go for something that's cheaper, better, has a better offer, right? So there, like I said, Amazon is a jungle of distractions more and more. Like, at every stage, you will have another option being presented to you. Like, Amazon will say things like similar products related to your search, or similar brands related to this category, or lower priced items to consider. So there's always like lures and distractions presented to the buyer. And so if you're not closing that deal quickly, you're likely going to lose that deal to someone else's funnel, right? And once they're off your page, they're probably not going to come back and remember stuff because it's so, so rich with options. So I think as far as strategies go, whatever can give you the maximum like visibility in terms of placements, and also keeping in mind that those that you kind of have a good spread, like a good portfolio of ad types that give you exposure and at the same time doesn't kind of break the bank for you. So I guess in terms of strategies, whatever can help you achieve those goals would count as a strategy, and people have different ways of achieving those. And we at PPC Ninja try to be as, I guess, free of strategy as possible with our software. We try to accommodate all types of sellers with all types of approaches. Just to give you some examples, there's a strategy where you want to harvest keywords, right? So you set up a sort of campaign that will kind of discover new keywords for you, and then you graduate those and you negate those in the source. Whereas some sellers may not use that approach. They might just have auto and manual running in parallel and not worry too much about negating keywords. So there could be different ways of implementing. I guess the goal is always like how to get more profitable and how to get more visibility, more sales. So yeah, I'm not sure if I can answer that question in a short period of time, but ultimately whatever works, double down on that, and whatever is not working, back off of it and try something else. It's a constantly evolving space where experiments, the mindset to experiment is super important.
Okay. It sounds like you could talk about strategies for advertising for days.
For days, yeah.
Okay, so let's say that you're onboarding a new client for your business. How do you create an advertising game plan for that client? What do you try to understand about that client before making that game plan, taking that game plan into action?
Right. Yeah. So, like at PPC Ninja, we're both a software and a service. For those who want to just use our self-serve platform, they can just set up whatever strategy they're using. They can just get onboarded and start using it from day one. There is no changes that they need to make to their campaign structure to fit in with our tool, for example, nor do we create campaigns for them in a fully automated way, because it might be in conflict with whatever else they have set up. So, for example, some people might have a campaign structure where they separate out all the 3 match types into their own campaigns, where some people might do it as at the ad group level. One campaign budget is split out across 3 different ad groups with different match types. And there are also people who combine everything in one campaign and ad group. So our software will not restrict you in that sense. So there's a little bit of an ease in onboarding any kind of strategy there. Now, on the services side, it's a little bit different because we work closely with our clients to first understand what their challenges are. Like, where are they getting stuck? What are their goals? So we always start with a PPC audit, and we do a strategy session where we actually connect up their advertising account with our software so we can get access to their data. And then within a few days, we basically give them a sort of like a high-level game plan and go over that with them. So they get an idea of, what they might be lacking or where are the opportunities, what they need to fix, and so on. So at a very high level, we will look at things like what are their conversion rates, what are their click-through rates, or what is their ACoS, of course, what is their break-even ACoS, all the metrics that are important to managing PPC. We look at all of them. We also go down to the keyword level and try to separate out keywords by high ACoS, low ACoS, medium ACoS keywords, and then try to see why is it that those exist, like why are certain keywords in certain buckets, and what we need to do to improve them. And then, yeah, I think this is important. A lot of times people are trying to throw dollars at a poor listing. And so no matter how much you do that, it's not going to result in any turnaround. So oftentimes we encourage our clients to actually do listing optimization with us, and we help with that process also, because then that sets the flywheel in motion in the positive direction. We find the right keywords that should sit on the on the listing, and also in the back end, and then we also advertise on it. So it's like a holistic approach, but it all starts with a PPC audit.
Right. Yeah, and identifying what listings are ready for advertising, or as Amazon calls it, retail readiness,
Yes.
really helps on the advertising side to get the traffic, get the momentum, and start ranking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
How does an advertising strategy or a game plan that you're coming up with differ for a seller that's doing, 7 figures on Amazon versus someone that's starting out? I mean, obviously the amounts that they're spending are different, but do you focus on different types of ads, different strategies for each different one?
Yeah, so I think again, we so we actually have our own 8-figure selling business, and we consult for 6, 7, and 8-figure sellers. And what we've noticed with our 8-figure business is that everything is happening at a very different scale. So that's probably the biggest difference between a smaller seller just starting out maybe and a big seller and established sellers, that data is coming in at different rates. For an established seller, we're seeing that we're able to make decisions much faster. There's a data sufficiency that we're always looking out for, and it's easier to make those changes. But there's also this unwieldiness about the volume of data, so you have to be using approaches that will not throttle their sales by through a bulk operation, for example. So it's the management side of it that's going to be a little bit different. As far as ad coverage, we generally have like a base blueprint for 6, 7, 8-figure sellers, which definitely is a little bit different than the base blueprint for an 8-figure seller in terms of coverage, only because I think smaller sellers would be concerned about how much budget they're allocating to, running their PPC successfully. But I do have some thoughts about like budget versus, so there's a budget mentality that I'm always noticing how people ask this question of, okay, so how much should I budget for my PPC? Like, how much do I keep aside? So I try to kind of break that or soften that mindset, the budget mentality, by explaining what the goal of Amazon advertising it is to generate a flywheel, right? And so if whatever you're putting in is resulting in something coming out like 5x, 10x, or whatever, then why would you restrict the budget? You wouldn't, right? But if there is a problem with what you're putting out there, what you're investing, then the budget question, it doesn't matter. It's a moot point. Like the problem is with what you're putting out there, like your design of your ads, or the choice of your keywords, or the way you're positioning everything has a problem. So that needs to be fixed first, and then you can just make it like a multiplier. So it's easier for 8-figure sellers to get that. Not so much the 6, 7, and 8 figures, because they will be protective about their budgets. So we try to work with that and try to figure out the sweet spot of like how much, in terms of initial kind of budget investment, we allocate, so that it doesn't, it doesn't hurt them. It won't, because we have strategies that we're very careful about monitoring data as soon as it starts to come in, and we make adjustments pretty rapidly. So yeah, I think that was a long answer, but to summarize, I'd just like to say that there's the question of scale, and then there's the question of coverage for purposes of budget, and those two kind of tend to be a little bit different.
So understanding that there's a difference between the budget and trying to scale, what would you recommend to sellers that are looking to scale their advertising, or that aren't at that 6, 7-figure mark yet and are looking to get there? How should they start scaling?
Right. So I would say max out on all the placements that are available to us. So I mean, so far people have been I guess, overly focused on just keyword ranking or just making keywords work, but they're missing out on other targets. Targets like products, or targets like categories, or targets like interests. So these are all different types of targets that you can direct your ads towards, right? So although keywords are the heart of everything, because search results, they rely heavily on keyword research and finding the right keywords to to kind of to make more sales happen through sponsored products. But I think there's other ad types that can append to that and can provide you with a lot of high profitability scenarios. Like, we've seen such great results with sponsored display ads, or with sponsored products, product targeting ads, or sponsored products, category targeting ads. And basically, using all the spaces that are available, not only just the first page, but also product pages. There's carousels at the bottom that can be utilized. There's, ads on the right rail just below the buy box, or there's an ad placement right below the bullet points even. And I think there's many strategies that we recommend to our clients that can help them tap into funnels that are already working. So if let's say you place an ad on a competitor that has a high volume, a high search volume, like they have, maybe it's a big brand, maybe they have high sales volume, on a monthly basis, you can kind of target them to get maximum exposure. So you're basically sitting inside their funnel. It's a funnel inside another funnel. And you can just tap into qualified leads, because anyone who's on their page is already ready to purchase a product similar to yours. So you do the reverse engineering on that, find the product that's closest, and then go target that and get those sales. So although this type of strategy might not result in a lot of sales, like it may not generate so much, but it is something, and it's highly profitable. So having that spread is what, one of the great ways of scaling. Like, it looks like all these things don't count because they're so small, but they actually do. They do add up pretty quickly to substantially, supplement your main ad types.
So then it's just a matter of essentially seeing which campaign types are working or what ad types are working, and then increasing the budget as you start to spend through them.
Exactly. Absolutely. That's what we do. Yeah.
You actually just brought up a good point between the three different ad types, or the evolving different ad types on Amazon. Now we have sponsored products, sponsored brands, and sponsored display. Apart from DSP, how would you recommend that sellers split their budget between those three? Should they split them evenly? Should they focus more on one ad product type than the other? What do you think?
So I think the data will speak for itself. Like, in many cases, we already see that sponsored products does result in, or does bring us about 70 to 80% of our total sales. And then the rest are split out between the other ad types. Of course, DSP is a totally different ballgame altogether, but between sponsored brands and sponsored display, I would say that 30% of the total budget could, basically go to these two ad types. But then if you look under the hood and start going down to the campaign level, you will see some, differences emerge there. Like, sometimes a certain ad type, a certain product might lend itself to a certain ad type more than others. For example, it might be great for a video ad, which is a type of sponsored brand ad, whereas some other products, maybe not. Maybe those are keyword heavy, or maybe long tail. You can capitalize on long tail keywords and keep the momentum going there. So end of the day, you do want to double down on what's working and let go of what's not working. But the data typically guides us. It's important to have that mindset of looking at the data all the time, so that you know what is working and what is not. Yeah.
Right. It's different for every product, every category on Amazon. And I mean, I would agree. I see more, right? We recommend that we dedicate more budget to our clients on sponsored products, because we see a lot of success there, and that's the lower end of the funnel. But sponsored brands and sponsored display are just as valuable for increasing brand awareness and brand consideration as well.
Yeah, and also increasing placements, because that's something that most people don't realize. They probably think that sponsored brands is meant mostly for brand awareness, whereas we tend to use most of our sponsored brand ads for actually generating really good sales. And our ACOS for sponsored brands is so close to sponsored products. It's not even funny, like it's so close because of the way we target our sponsored brand ads, very tightly connected to the keyword choices and the choice of messaging or the choice of actual um, products that we pick for those types of ads. So it is possible to make sponsored brands also work really well. And now they're opening up so many more placements for that type of ad. You're even seeing those sponsored brand ads at the bottom of pages and
Right.
details. So, which is great. So, yeah, I would at this point just say, if you can max out your placements and then go down, at the campaign level and try to be as close and targeted as possible with your keywords and your messaging, then you can actually make a lot of these different ad types, well, especially sponsored brands in this particular case, work just as good in terms of ACOS as sponsored products.
So Ritu, what would you recommend that a new seller on the Amazon platform starts budgeting for their advertising?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. So I think there's a math behind it that if you understand, then that question can be answered quite easily. And so the math works out like this. There's a conversion rate that basically decides the conversion rate and the cost per click that decides how much budget you should keep aside for how much sales you want per day. So for example, if your conversion rate is 10%, then for every 100 clicks you get, you'll probably make 10 sales, right? So that's the math there. And to make those 100 clicks happen, you need to have a cost per click associated with all of them. And let's say that's $1. So you put in $100 and you can get 10 sales. So if that's the math for a 10% conversion rate, most new products don't have that conversion rate to start with. They have a lower conversion rate, right? And so before they can reach that peak point, you've got to assume that maybe the conversion rate is 5 or maybe 2 even. So if you do the backward math on that, you can find out, like, if you want to make 1 sale a day, then how much you need to budget, and then buffer that up a little bit, just double that, so that Amazon has enough room to make sure that it actually goes and fetches you those X number of clicks that you did the backward math on. So typically, if you want to just get maybe 2 sales and you have a conversion rate of assuming 5%, I mean, anything between 20 to 30 to $40 per campaign might be a good starting point. But then don't stop at just that, because you might think, okay, $40 a day, oh, that's a lot of money for 1 sale. But actually, that's just the initial boost you need to get the conversion rate up. And once you do get the conversion rate up, you can actually, get better metrics right there. So the trick is to watch your data like a hawk as soon as you start getting it, like 12 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours in. And I'm not suggesting making changes to the bids before there's enough data to act on it, but you will see impressions and clicks come in the earliest, right? You'll see impressions coming in for certain keywords and clicks coming in for a few of those keywords, and then maybe sales. So what we do is we actually make it easy for Amazon to double down on those early data points by increasing the bids just a little bit. So that gives Amazon the ability to show those more often, and it kind of starts the snowballing effect, which is the flywheel effect. We start to see more and more and more visibility on early data point keywords, and then you'll also notice that a lot of keywords never get any impressions, and that's because they probably did not get those early data points on impressions, and so Amazon just treats them as maybe a buffer for later. I don't know. I mean, it's almost like all the campaigns I've seen, there's always going to be a few that do really well, and then a few that just gets, sidelined for some reason. And that happens all the time. But for the ones that are getting impressions and are getting clicks and sales, you want to encourage those. So doing that can help maximize your budget investments, and you basically you start getting sales. That's what you want.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, start with maybe 30 to 40 per day per campaign, in the scenario where there's absolutely no conversion rate history, and then slowly alter your approach from there.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. I think being more aggressive in the beginning and getting that ad spend out there is very important to gather the data. It's always easier to cut back on spend or cut back on the A cost in the future by shutting off keywords that aren't converting. But if you don't even spend on them, you're never really going to find the data that's going to guide you along the route to scaling your advertising. What do you think are some of the best practices for setting up campaigns on the Amazon platform? I know everyone does things a little bit different, but what are your thoughts on it?
Right. So we generally tend to have, at least 8 to 10 campaigns that we start for each product on Amazon. And so there's two that we use for auto campaigns. We create 2 auto campaigns, one that focuses on keywords alone, which is the close match and the loose match targets, and then another auto for the substitutes and complements, which is more of a product focused auto campaign. So we do these 2. And then we've done our keyword research, and now we want to split those keywords out, because there's, you could easily get 600, 700, or even more keywords per product, right? And so you want to spread those out and not have them all sit in the same place. So there's different ways of splitting them out. We use many different techniques depending on the type of product, but generally we will split them out based on their search volume, and we will try to keep fewer keywords that have a high search volume in their own campaign, and not mix those up with long tail keywords or low search volume keywords just for budget distribution reasons. And so we tend to have like 3 to 4 manual campaigns just to spread those keywords out. Then in addition to that, we will do competitor research. You can use any reverse ASIN tool to find out competitors, and then put them all in product targeting ads under sponsored products. And then we also have a category targeting ad under sponsored product that we always set up. And let's say someone is a brand registered seller and they have access to sponsored display, then we also set up a sponsored display for product targeting campaign. So this will give us maximum placements. And with these 8 to 10 campaigns that we have in our base blueprint, we basically have a good chance of setting that flywheel in motion. Now it's really interesting that the very few sales that we get right in the beginning, like maybe a couple of days in, it tends to be from auto campaigns and category targeting campaigns because those have like a wide net, and Amazon is doing all the hard work. Whereas all the other campaigns, we've done all the hard work in trying to figure out who these competitors are or which keywords are relevant. But auto and category, in my opinion, have been really good for our customers in bringing those initial sales in. And then of course we do harvesting, and then make sure that those good keywords are added to our manual campaigns if they're missing. The other thing we also try to notice is what is the ranking that we're getting for some of these search terms, and then we kind of give them a little boost. Like if they're already in our manual campaigns, we will bid them a little higher because we're already ranking high for them. We want to encourage more of that to happen. So so we're watching our keyword tracking and making sure that those keywords are, first of all, always present on our listing somewhere, either on the in the main listing or hidden in the back end. We tend to use the subject matter field a lot for that. So that's pretty much the way we would start our clients off on new product launches for the best success.
Okay, great. That's very helpful. I think that was a very in-depth answer to that question. One discussion that we always have with our clients when we're starting is what are their goals for the Amazon platform? And everyone has different goals, whether it is to maximize sales or just to have a presence on the platform. So how do you help Amazon sellers reach their goals once they start working with you?
Right. So I think what we do in our agency is we try to share as much of our experience and knowledge with them so that there is a two-way conversation possible. Because a lot of times clients will come in with some preconceived and set beliefs about how things should be done. And many times that hurts them more than helps them. So I guess our first goal is to educate and also to learn and understand where they're coming from and what their goals are. So I guess that's a very case by case kind of approach. There is no a clear answer for that, but yeah, we try to see where they're coming from, how much they want to grow as a brand, and whether they're okay to spend money in the beginning or they're conservative about that. So we do an audit to try and figure out where they are at and then guide them. But like we'll try to be as honest as possible and not just give them false hopes about how things can be amazing and so on. And so many times we actually bring out our calculators and show them, hey, you want to get here and you're saying you want to do it this way. It's, the math is not working out. So many times we do like calculator based discussions that go back and forth till, they understand what the flywheel is, what a budget mentality is, and what the flywheel mentality is, and what you need to do to make that flywheel go, and how much patience you need, and all that stuff. So it's a conversation. I would just say that's the best thing we can do with our clients to understand where they are and where they want to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think helping clients understand what a realistic goal is versus what they might imagine. It's like selling on Amazon is really difficult. I mean, it's an honest conversation you need to have with each seller. It's not so simple that you just put your listings on there and next day you're doing $1 million in sales. Like, it's not the way Amazon works.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I think that was a really good discussion. Is there anything else that you think the listeners should know about PPC Ninja?
Yeah, so maybe I can give you like a quick, a rundown of what PPC Ninja is good for. So PPC Ninja is really awesome for agencies and sellers that, are looking to interact with their data pretty intimately. Like they want to be able to see what's behind the curtain. They don't want to have like a black box approach to optimization where they're in control. So our software is designed to help people be in control and use their creative talents to leverage the tools, the power that the tools provide. And so most of our data-based analytics views help people almost like they would be using Excel. So it's pretty simplified and it's really easy to use, where they can go in and set filters and find segments that meet that criteria very quickly across all keywords, across all campaigns in one view. And then they can do bulk actions with it. So bulk operations is probably the heart of PPC Ninja. In addition to our bid optimization, which is like a weekly thing that we generate for them. We're also transitioning to a new bid optimization engine right now. So I don't know when people hear this, there's more advanced features coming out there, which are based on data sufficiency and so on. One more thing that I want to say is that we're trying to educate our users by easing them into the platform with a 6-week mastermind program, which we're running right now. I don't know how long we can do it because these are all in-person live events. And they're 6 weeks long. So over 6 weeks, we cover like all the important topics around PPC. And we also show them to a certain extent how they can do those with PPC Ninja. So it's a great, and it's free. So anyone who's using PPC Ninja gets the tool for 6 weeks, and they also get access to our mastermind. ppcninja.com, that's our website. And they can always email us at support@ppcninja.com. So we are pretty good with our responses, and we'll get back with any questions that they might have.
All right, that sounds fantastic, Ritu. Thank you so much for your time today. We really enjoyed this conversation about Amazon advertising. Hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.